Security measures and business continuity planning. We are going to discuss a few more risks related to internet, related to different disasters that might befall on an organization. So let's get started. Inherent risks of the internet. And I don't need to tell you what is internet. You already know. If your system is connected to a network of internet is network of networks. Internet can simply be defined as is a network of networks, many millions of networks connected together. This is what you call internet. Now, there are certain risks related to internet, and we're going to discuss these risks one by one, and we should also be discussing what are the remedies or what are the solutions or the defenses against such risks. The first risk is the password attack. We'll discuss it in detail. Then man in the middle, denial of service. Let us first discuss the password attack. Let's say I have my bank account in Askari Bank Limited and I have a certain login, and someone knows my login. This is login ABC4567. Now, what could be the password? A knowledgeable IT guy, I would say the IT buff, the one who knows information technology and computer programs, he might try many combination of alphabets and numerics. Maybe he will try all the words in a dictionary, enter serendipity login, enter hallmark login. He will try millions of different entries, and system will try to log it in, whatever the hacking software he's trying to use. So this is called the brute force attack. You are trying many combinations of alphabets, letters, numerals. You're using some software to try many variant, different type of passwords. So this is called brute force attack. And for this very reason, what is the defense against such a brute force attack? That your system should allow you only 3 to 4 trials. You try first time, the password isn't correct. You try second time, third time. After the fourth time, access is blocked. You may have to call the banker to activate your account. So if someone tries to gain access to your bank detail or some sensitive information, he can just try 2 or 3 times. He cannot just try millions of entries and then gain access. Next is password. I guess this password may be compromised. If you try to keep a simple password, maybe like your birth date, maybe the name of your mother, or maybe the name of your city. So this is the problem. That's why you should frequently change your password, and you should use uppercase, lowercase, and a combination of some special characters like these, and some numbers also, some numerals. Right. So this way you may be able to protect your access. Otherwise, your password will always be at risk. And yes, other than brute force attack, Trojan horse, which we discussed in our previous class, this could also be used as a way to hack your or to take away your software. We also discussed IP spoofing. It's similar to phishing we discussed in the previous lecture. What is it? Spoofing means it's a fake website, a false website looking like PayPal. You enter your email address and password. In fact, it's not PayPal. It was maybe you incorrectly entered PAUL.com and inadvertently you gave your login and password and your account is hacked. This is called IP spoofing. And then packet sniffers. Packet sniffers actually they involve when you try to gain access to a host system. You send your login and password, and someone is listening or maybe is trying to intercept the data packets that are moving between you and the host computer. This data sniffer, they might gain access to your information, your login and password. So this is also a threat. So this threat, this packet sniffer threat can be overcome by using encryption. Data encryption we'll discuss. So every problem we see here, there is a solution. Brute force attack, I told you, your website or your system will not allow you more than 3 to 4 attempts. When there are multiple attempts, your account will be locked, right? IP spoofing, this threat can be managed by a good browser and the browser will indicate whether this website is legitimate or it has some suspicious signatures. And the packet sniffers, this problem can be sorted out using what we call encryption. We'll discuss in the next slides. Next, man in the middle attack. This is you, or the customer. Customer is trying to gain access to the host system. Instead of getting the access directly to the host system, the request is routed to an attacker. Maybe you requested some information from your host website by giving your login and password, and this hacker sitting between you and your host, he might take your information away, or he may modify your data, he might insert new data, he might take away your sensitive information, or simply he might deny the service, that you are no longer able to access this. Also, this is man in the middle attack. Then denial of service. The frequent example I quote while explaining the denial of service, let's say this is the ACCA web server, and the result is announced maybe on 13th of August 2022. Now many requests to gain access to the system to know what is your result. When there are so many requests from the server, it makes sense. All are legitimate users. They are requesting something. They are requesting information they need. So the system is overloading, but all these are legitimate users. System will be down, means there are so many requests. System will be overwhelmed by such a large number of requests, and many requests might not be fulfilled. This is called denial of service. System doesn't respond. So ACCA made a smart move. They created a proxy server, and on that proxy server, they simply placed the results, and those students who just needed the result, they were routed to this proxy server, and they just could see the results, and the main server was kept aside and without getting affected. So that's what they did. This is legitimate. This should happen. But when there are so many requests that your system becomes overloaded, overwhelmed by fake requests, the legitimate users are blocked out. Legitimate user A, B, they cannot gain access. Legitimate request cannot get through because the system has been bombed with so many requests that the legitimate users are unable to gain access. How we can protect this? This is done by a computer software. This is not a person doing it. I'm sure most of you would have seen CAPTCHA. When you try to gain access to some website, you have to read some very difficult, hardly legible words written in a very jumbled way, and you need to type those words in through CAPTCHA. It's A, B, you have to read it carefully. You as a human being, you can differentiate distorted alphabets, distorted numbers, and you can then simply type it was AB74G93. I as a human being, you as a human being, we can see and interpret and can visualize what these actual numbers are. A computer software cannot. A computer software, the one that bombs the server with HTTP requests. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transport Protocol. That's the initial to when you write a website, open a website. So this is the problem, and this is the solution. The CAPTCHA is the solution that only the legitimate, valid human beings, those who can read what is written in the CAPTCHA, and they are the one who will write and gain access to the system. And it can happen that when many attacks are made simultaneously on the server. Here, this was just done by a single attacker. And when there are many attackers, attacker 1, 2, 3, and your target server is overwhelmed and the legitimate users are locked out, this is called distributed denial of service. This is the single denial of service. And here you see DOD, distributed denial of service, DDoS. And the solution to this is the same. Every user who wants to gain access to the server must fill in a CAPTCHA, some difficultly legible combination of letters and numbers, and only the valid users can get in. Now, the problem, when I send something or request something from my host, the problem is that I may be routed somewhere else, or maybe someone might sniff the information out and intercept my login and passwords and take access to my different accounts. The solution to this problem is called encryption. What is encryption? Encryption is encoding a message in a form. Let's say I want to convey a message written word, W-O-R-D. And this wants to be delivered to person B. Now, if someone intercepts this information, he will be able to read what is written. It's a word, W-O-R-D. These are the four alphabets he can see. Now, if we use some encryption software will convert the string of these alphabets into a form that is not understandable, readable, maybe in this form. Even if I am able to intercept the information, but this combination of blocks makes no sense. And when this information is received by B, B will unlock it and then he will be able to read the message. It was a word. This is encryption. You can send your information securely in a jumbled, encrypted way. The person who would receive your information can jumble it, or he can decipher it or decrypt it, and then can read what the message is all about. So let us discuss this in detail. What is data encryption? Data encryption uses two methods. One of them is the public-private key combination called the asymmetric encryption. It's more secure. Why is it more secure? Because let's say I want to send some information, and this is the ACCA server. I use ACCA public key. I write a message, and using ACCA's public key, I decrypt this message and lock it. When ACCA receives this information, ACCA will use his own private key and unlock the information and read what the information was said. So remember, this public-private key combination, also called the asymmetric encryption, it's a more secure method than the other one we will discuss. Here we are using a combination of two keys. Public key, ACCA public key is available, everyone knows it. It's available in the directory. But ACCA's private key is only available with ACCA, and ACCA will use their private key to decode all the messages sent to ACCA. Right? There are many public-private key combination providers like this Ravest, Xiaomi, and Edelman. This is the widely used public-private key encryption system. There is VeriSign. There is Thought. I'm sure when you would have done some e-commerce or some electronic transactions, you would have seen any of these signs on the website where you have conducted your transaction. So this is a way to transfer or send information securely using public-private key combination. The one called private key or symmetric encryption, this is less secure. Why less secure? Because there's only one key. I have one secret key belongs to me, and let's say Vikas has his own private key. So I take my plain text and use my own private key, encrypt the message and send it to Vikas. Vikas will use his own private key and he will decrypt the message, decipher it, and then read what is written. So this is relatively less secure than the public-private key combination. And there are many variants to it. There's one variant that was originally developed in the US Department of Defense. It used 56 binary digit numbers. Then it was revised to a new advanced triple DES, which contained 168 binary digits. And the latest one we are using is Advanced Encryption Standard, AES. And it is widely used by the US government agencies. You just need to remember the name. How they actually work is beyond the scope of your syllabus. Then we have firewalls. What are firewalls? Firewalls are, let's say, you have sensitive information placed on your servers, and you don't want unauthorized access to these servers. So you create a wall of fire in figurative term, not the actual fire, in the figurative term. You create a barrier so that only the authorized accesses can be made from outside, and only the legitimate users can gain access. Any unauthorized person should not gain access to our systems. So basically, firewall is of two types. One is the hardware-based, and other is the software based. Hardware based is like this. This is Dell Sonic Wall TZ400. So all your servers accesses are routed through this firewall. Only the legitimate users will be able to allow to gain access to your servers. Those who are little suspicious, they may not be gain access to your system. It will prevent passage of certain traffic that is deemed suspicious. So now let us discuss. And then software related firewalls means you are using some programs that protect your servers and your information facility. Okay, so these firewalls are intended to protect your hardware, protect your data, protect your software. In other words, protect your crucial information that is vital for your business operations. Okay, before we go further, let me explain further. We discussed that firewalls could be a physical device, hardware based, or it could be a software, a code that protects your information systems, data servers, and your facilities. Further, firewalls can also be classified into another two categories. Let me explain these two. One is the network firewall. Network firewall. This network firewall could also be a hardware-based or a software-based arrangement. Network firewall will regulate the entire network, your entire local area network, a LAN that contains hundreds of systems within your organization. It will examine each request, it will examine each query, and it will only allow legitimate users into the system. It will deny entry to those who are not legitimate users. It will prevent attempt to gain access to your systems. And if anyone is trying to gain access repeatedly, this network firewall will intimate your data security officials, security personnel, that someone is trying to gain access to your system so that some remedial actions can be done. The other one, this is the network firewall. Other is the software-based application firewall. Application firewall protects certain computer applications. As the name suggests, they regulate traffic to a specified application, maybe your email server, maybe your data servers, certain applications, computer programs need protection. Right? So network firewall will protect your whole network, local area network, or maybe if your network is extended to a city, wide area network. And application firewalls will prevent access to your applications or email servers or transfer or file transfer applications. Right? So further, these network firewalls, since they protect your whole network, your local area network, they perform two functions for you. They must be discussed. First, together with network wall, there is a concept called vulnerability testing. Vulnerability testing. What is vulnerability testing? Well, just the meaning of vulnerable. The word vulnerable means something exposed to attack, something where we are exposed, where there is risk of attack. So vulnerability testing, basically also called vulnerability scanning, it identifies the weaknesses in our infrastructure. Maybe the weakness in our operating systems, maybe the weakness in our applications, maybe our physical accesses. So vulnerability testing keep on scanning your system and identifies where the problems can go wrong and how to remedy this. This comes with the network. And the second part is important, you need to know. It's called penetration testing. This is something very relevant for financial institutions, PayPal, Payoneers, those companies that have millions of users and they need security of their information system. Penetration testing, it uses tools commonly used by hackers to gain access. Penetration testing will test the robustness of your system. It will determine that how well your system is able to tolerate real world-like attacks. What are the countermeasures we can take to prevent such attacks? Right, so these two are important elements to be discussed with network firewall. Next is the routine backup and offsite rotation. People, you need to know, you can always replace your hardware. You can buy a new computer. You can buy maybe a much more advanced computer, much more advanced machines, but your data that is unique to your business, that cannot be replaced. Hardware is replaceable, data is irreplaceable. So that is why you need to back up your data to secure locations. Let's say if your head office is in Dammam, which I keep on saying because my company's head office was in Dammam. So your data must be copied. I hope you remember from our previous class, dual writing routine or RAID, a redundant array of independent disks, RAID. You store your data in different locations, geographically remote locations. If there is something wrong in the main facility, you have the alternate arrangements from where you can retrieve your data and get your business up and running. So backup is extremely important. And the places where you keep your backup, just like any other information, so should be temperature moderate, humidity control, and must be a location that is less likely to face any natural disaster, flood, fire, hurricane, earthquakes, etc. Right? So this is important. So let me explain this idea to you as well. Let's say you have three locations, one in Jeddah, one in Riyadh, one in Yambo. These are your three your backup facilities in three different cities. Now, the data center or the backup site at Jeddah, it is updated every month. Another backup facility at Riyadh, this site data is updated every week. And what we have in Yambo, this your backside offices, its data is updated daily basis, which means so this is very unlikely that all these facilities, all these backup will go down at the same time. At least one will be available. So let's say if we happen to lose these two simultaneously, at least we have 1 month of backup data at grandfather location. Or if these two are lost, at least we have the data available from Yambo. So offsite must be, this is called grandfather, father and son arrangement. The data is backed up, but with this is updated every day, daily, every week, every month. So whatever is lost, you have some other arrangement. It can be done all. Maybe you have all the three sons, maybe all are three grandfather, but that won't make sense. You should have this arrangement so that whatever site goes down, you have some alternate availability of the data. Okay, now this is important. Business continuity planning and disaster recovery. There are events that you might lose your data, you might lose your physical processing facility. So you need to have some backup plan. You need to have some arrangement, some plan, a comprehensive security plan, so that if any such event occurs, you have some alternative arrangements. And whatever arrangement you make, your cost should always be less than the benefit. You should expect more benefit. So that is the reason, since we are always looking at cost versus benefit, so such comprehensive computer security plan, they can only provide you reasonable assurance. Absolute assurance is not possible because you are not using 100% resources. You are using cost benefit analysis. So you will be limited in spending money on such a plan. So that's why you cannot get 100% assurance. Only absolute assurance is possible. Now you need to differentiate between these two things. Disaster recovery and business continuity planning, there are two different aspects of comprehensive computer security plan. What is disaster recovery? Let's say there is a flood. Your facilities are down. Disaster recovery means that being able to resume normal operations as quickly as possible. A flood has occurred, or maybe there's an earthquake or something has interrupted your operations. So how much time will you take to recover your data so that you can resume your normal operation? For this, we have a disaster recovery plan. And we just, let's say it might take 2 months. What we will do in 2 months? Should you close your business and do nothing? We should have another part of the plan called the business continuity planning, that for these 2 months, when our systems are down, what arrangement will we have so as to keep on doing the business at least to at a reduced level, right? So business content planning is a continuation of business by other means during the period for which we do not have our normal operations available. So these are two important part of your comprehensive computer security plan: how to recover from a disaster and how much time will it take, and during that time, how will you continue our business by some other means. So this is what we're going to discuss now. Now, what kind of problems can occur? There are two types of problems broadly. One in which your physical facilities are intact, your assets, your IT infrastructure is intact. Other where your IT infrastructure is gone, destroyed by flood, fire, earthquake, or whatever it could be. Right? So the first one is less serious. Power failure, attack by a virus, or hacking incidents. At least your physical facilities are protected. The second type is very serious, like floods, earthquakes, fires, where your actual infrastructure is gone. So what defenses do we have? Like, for example, in the first kind of problem, the first disaster, where if there's a power failure, you should have a generator, alternating power supply. Attack is such as a virus, so you should have a good antivirus software that will make your system up and running in short period of time. These are some softwares, antivirus softwares. The second problem is when there is a serious trouble, your system is gone. Some extreme disaster, flood, fire, earthquake, your facilities are gone. You need an alternate processing facility where you can get your work done. Right? So alternating processing facility can be of three types. Let us discuss. A hot site. Hot site means a site which is fully operational. All information systems, softwares are fully loaded. And if there is a serious disaster, hot site becomes operational maybe in just few minutes, or maybe if your business is time critical, few seconds, and your system starts running. This is essential to note that hot site is expensive to maintain. So if your business is of nature where connectivity is very important, like a bank, like a financial institution, you need a hot site so as to resume your operations as quickly as possible. But if your business isn't of this nature, means you maybe your customers can wait a couple of days, then we have a warm site. Warm site means we have limited hardware. Maybe we have communication systems, network equipments, and maybe it will take a couple of days to get it running, or at least a week. This is called a warm site. And in third case, when the nature of your business does not require you immediate processing, you may have a cold site, which is basically just a room, technically speaking, just a shell facility, and there is basically nothing, no hardware, no software, no communication lines. So maybe you might require a month because your data is backed up. You need software, hardware, communication lines, and that data from the wherever it is stored, an offsite location, backup can be used, and then you can make the site fully up and running. Your unit 18 is over. Let us do a couple of questions, not couple of, a bundle of questions that should explain you the ideas in a finer detail. Okay, now, which of the following is a computer program that appears to be a legitimate program but performs some illegal, immoral, unethical activity when it is run? Appears to be a good program you downloaded, but it does something which is not good, which is unethical, illegal, Trojan horse, exactly. Now, what other things are you should know at least? A web crawler, basically it's a program that gathers information on the internet and creates tables for search engines. So basically it's not a threat, it just gathers information from web crawler, means it crawls on the web and gets information for search engine tables. Killer application is just a term, just like what an application, an amazing application, such a killer application. This is the term used loosely to describe an application that is amazing. And then Hawks virus is just a fake virus, and there is just a rumor in the market that the virus has been unleashed and it will destroy your computer. Actually, there is nothing like this. Hawks virus is just a rumor about some deadly virus. This is not a term we are looking for. Next, which of the following is used for internet security as opposed to data transmission over the secure transmission lines? Internet security. Let us read these options one by one. Internet security. Parallel simulation is one of the computer-assisted audit techniques. This is not it. Concurrency control. This is something we haven't read anywhere in our textbook, but let me explain. What is concurrency control? Let's say you have a customer A and he has a credit limit of $150,000. And he has already used his credit facility. He has not paid us back. Now, A has sent us a purchase order for $30,000. And at the same time, he has also sent us a check of $70,000. And both of these have been received by the system at the same time, simultaneously. Now, if purchase order happens to be processed by the system first, the the credit administration department, he will reject the purchase order because the customer's limit has exceeded. Almost 150,000 is utilized fully. So it means the purchase order will be rejected. So we should have a concurrency control in a way that if two transactions of this nature come, then the system should be encoded in a way that first this check must be processed and the limit brought down to 100, and then if it will be, I think, 90,000, 80,000. And when the balance is 80,000, then this purchase order will clearly be approved. So concurrency controls mean if two transactions come for processing simultaneously, the system should be able to identify which of these has a priority and should be processed first. Right? So this is not what we're looking for. Mapping, we discussed previously that if you are auditing your client's computer systems, mapping will identify some unused code, some code that might be a little suspicious. So this is not clearly something related to internet security. Firewall is something that relates to internet security, means only the legitimate, valid logins, accesses must be made to your system. Next, a company's management is concerned about computer data eavesdropping. Someone is listening, sniffing the data, maybe trying to intercept the data, the communication taking place between you and the host, and want to maintain the confidentiality of its information as it is transmitted. So we want to ensure that the information that is transmitted is secure. What should we do? We should use data encryption. And you have two options. Either you go for public-private key combination, RSV, thwart, and VeriSign, or you may go for a simple private key, single key encryption. So that's it. Dial-back system is totally an inappropriate option here. Like you call your banker and you ask them to increase the credit limit on your credit card. They will say, okay, we will call you back to confirm that you are the legitimate user. They will call you back at your registered number, something like that. See, and you can see the other ones as well. Which of the following most compromises the file retention as protection against loss or damage of master files? Look at this. I told you if you want to keep a backup must be located at different locations. Grandfather, father, and son, they must be in remote locations, remote geographical locations. So the problem is that you store all files in one location. This will be the trouble. This is the problem. Do not store all files in one location. Must be separated in different locations. Ventilation is a physical control. Failure to encrypt data. There is no issue of data transfer, as we can see from the information. And storage could be magnetic tape, which is quite outdated, or it could be flash memories, could be hard drives. So B is the right option. A critical aspect of disaster recovery plan is to be able to regain operational capability as soon as possible. In order to accomplish this, an organization can have an arrangement with its computer hardware vendor to have a fully operational facility available that is configured to the user specific needs. This is best known as a hot site. Absolutely right. There is no doubt about that. Confidential data can be securely transmitted over the internet by using encryption. We can encrypt the messages and we can send it to the intended person. Digital signature is a way to verify from whom the original document originated. Digital document. Single-use password can be used only once. We are not interested in access, we are interested in the data transmission, and that is encryption. Managers at a consumer products company purchased personal computer software from only recognized vendors and prohibited employees from installing non-authorized software on their personal computers. It's a good control to avoid getting your systems infected with a virus. To minimize the likelihood of computer viruses infecting any of its systems, it's a good control. What additionally should the company do? The company should also do what? Also test all new software on a standalone personal computer. Perfect. Yes, that's a good control. If there's a new software, test it on a standalone computer, then unleash it on your network. This is the right thing. Restore infected systems with authorized versions. This is a detective and corrective measure. We want to, I told you, preventive controls are the best. This is not a preventive control, it's a corrective control. Recompile infected programs from source code backups. Source code, unlikely you have source code to recompile it back to the object code. We are interested in to ensure that our system doesn't get infected. So the issue is not source code being compiled into object code. Issue is we want to protect our system from getting infected. And institute program change control procedures. We will discuss this in section F. What we do, what are the controls should we implement when we are changing system from one form to another. Change control procedure. We'll discuss in detail as we go. The right thing is here, test new software on a standalone computer, and if you find it okay, then you can install it on all network computers. An internet firewall is designed to provide adequate protection against which of the following? Remember, internet firewall's prime focus is to prevent your information system from unauthorized access. It cannot protect you against the Trojan horse because it is downloaded by someone within the LAN, within the local area network. It cannot protect you against the computer virus. What it can protect you against? It can protect you against the unauthenticated logins from the outside. That's the main purpose of the internet firewall. So that makes C to be the correct option. The encryption technique that requires two keys, a public key that is known to all, that is available to anyone for encrypting messages, and a private key that is known only to the recipient for decrypting message. What is it? It is, I told you there are three famous public private key service providers. These are three. Ravis Shamir Edelman, most famous, Thought and VeriSign. So you would find these names there. RSA. And this is right here. Ravis Shamir Edelman or RSA. Data encryption, DES, it's a private key. It's symmetric arrangement. We'll discuss the second type of. Modulator, demodulator. Anyone knows what is it? Modulator or demodulator? Anybody? Madam, at least most of you would have heard or read this term somewhere. Modulator, demodulator. This is an obsolete technology. It was used about 20 years ago. You used to use your telephone line to get connected to your ISP, internet service provider, through a modem, right? The issue is that your telephone line and the ISP, they are connected through a copper wire, and on copper wire you can only have electrical signals which are analog, and your computer system runs on bits and bytes of strings of ones and zeros. So the problem is, when you needed to send these bits and bytes, your modulator will convert into electrical signals, and when on the way back the information you requested was in the signal form, was converted back into digital form. So converting digital into analog, analog into digital, this was the job of modulator and demodulator. This is an obsolete technology, and I'm sure no one uses it anymore, at least at a personal computer level. And cipher lock is basically a lock that you might have in your home, and it uses a certain combination of key 1244, and where you keep your cash, your dollars and reals. So that's a cipher lock that is opened through a combination of key. Tijori, to be more appropriate, what we use. So this is clearly not what we're looking for. Spoofing. Spoofing is identity misrepresentation. You open PayPal, a website, but instead you end up opening something else which appears to be like PayPal. This is identity misrepresentation in the cyberspace. Trying a large number of letters and a number of combinations to access a network. What is it? We just discussed this a little while ago. Brute force attack. Eavesdropping on information sent by a users to host computer of a website. Sniffing. Accessing packet flow through data networks. This is man-in-the-middle attack. We discussed these in our lecture. Please watch the video after the class. Attacks on computer networks may take many forms. Which of the following uses the computer of innocent parties infected with Trojan horse program? Let me show you the graphical representation of what he's asking about. This is it. These are innocent users. Innocent users. Innocent users. Attackers use their innocent users' hosts through Trojan horse, and then they bombard a certain server with request and bring it down. So basically, it is the distributed denial of network, where innocent parties' computers are used to overwhelm a server and bring it down from service. Which of the following is not an important aspect of disaster recovery plan? Not an important aspect of disaster recovery plan. Focus on disaster prevention. Yes, this is a very important focus. We should spend as many resources as possible to prevent such an eventuality from occurring. Focus on disaster recovery. Yes. Hot side recovery system. In case if our system fails, what arrangement do we have? Hot side, cold side, or warm side? An automatic failover. If the one system fails, immediately we are connected to an alternative processing facility. So these three are very important and must be considered in the disaster recovery plan. What is not important? What is not important is data conversion operators. Data conversion means who will convert the data into the new system. That is way later. We need to recover the facility first. These things will come later. So that makes B to be the correct option. All the following are examples of encryption techniques used for computer security. Encryption techniques. Public-private key, yes. Authentication is another alternative name for it. Primary key is totally inappropriate term here. Primary key is a unique identifier. Your ICAMA number, your passport number, your government issue ID card number is a unique number. Only you have it. And that number distinguishes you from the rest of the people. This is called primary key. And if you remember, the key integrity in processing control ensures that the primary key should not change, because this is the unique identifier through which we identify a particular record from other records. So this is totally misfit in this arrangement. When attempting to restore computing facilities, your computer facilities are down, you are restoring it. It says after a disaster, which of the following should be restored first? Which of the following should be restored first? Bash system, operating system. This is the foundation, the platform over which your applications will run. Your application A, B, C, D, E, F. These applications will run only. Your online system, your decision support system, your executive support system, bash system, they will all run only when your operating system is functional. So you need to make your operating system functional first. This is what you should do first. Rest of these will run on this operating system, correct? Okay, the IT team of a company created a disaster recovery plan for their employer. The plan includes several versions of backups of data and systems, including at least one copy kept offsite. One copy of disaster recovery plan is kept offsite. In case there's a disaster, we have a copy available. The plan also includes an offsite location selected for its reduced chance of natural disaster like floods and hurricanes. So we have an alternative processing facility, could be hot side, warm side, or cold side, not mentioned clearly, but we have alternative facility available. We have a copy offsite available, fine. This location is guarded by security service, good, very good. Assets are secure, fine. The IT manager has a copy of the plan at home, very good. He can have it if it is a disaster. The copy at his place will help us to recover our facilities. And the plan is regularly tested. Great. Select the statement below that best describes the plan. Now let us read these options one by one and then go for the final kill. It says the disaster recovery plan needs to include a disaster recovery site. It is already there. This is not an issue. We already have selected a disaster recovery site and not clearly mentioned whether it's a hot site, warm site, or cold site, but the site is there. So this is not an issue. The disaster recovery plan needs to include instructions for appointing a recovery team when disaster occurs. Yeah, this is not mentioned. We need to be clearly explicit that who would be doing what in case if a disaster occurs. It should be clearly defined that person A, B, C, A should do this, B should do this, C should do this. So the disaster plan should include instructions for appointing recovery team when disaster occurs. This was missing. This was missing. So this appears to be a good option. What about C? The disaster recovery plan has everything required because the company can access the data backups and continuous processing. We can't be sure that it includes everything unless we have been given the comprehensive information. So this is not correct. The disaster plan needs to ensure that there are copies of disaster recovery plan accessible on the computer system. When your computer systems are down, how can you access them? We already have a copy placed at IT manager's home. So this is sufficient. This is wrong also. So the correct option is that this plan should include and define the recovery team and who will do what. B is the right option. A company's IT manager has been asked to ensure that the company's data are protected in the event that they are intercepted during transmission. Transmission interception, we know it's about encryption. Which of the following is the best control to implement from the selection below? Clearly, it's encryption. This is the best tool we have to secure the information that is transmitted from point A to B. An airline is about to create an internet site to capture the flight reservations and ticket payments. Sensitive information. Which of the following best demonstrates the inherent risk of the internet? Inherent risk of the internet. Data formats are not typically standardized, not a concern. We are talking about this is something internal. We are focusing on inherent risk of internet. This is the problem. Confidential information can be intercepted. Information related to payments through credit cards and the flight reservation information of our passengers. This is the risk. Dependency on the internet service provider. This is not a risk. This is a necessity. Okay, then a company has in its disaster recovery plan a process to store in a secure off-site warehouse building a backup of its current financial operating system. What type of backup location is the company most likely using? Read the information. It could be either of three. Either it's a hot site or a cold site or a warm site. So It means out of these two only. A company in its disaster group plan had a process to store a secure offsite warehouse building, a backup of its current financial operating system. Just the data is stored. Basically, there is nothing else, no hardware or software, just the data. So it is a cold site. It is a cold site, correct? Next, encoding electronic data through the use of an algorithm to make information unreadable to unauthorized individuals. You jumble up your information in a way that if anyone intercepts the information, he is unable to make sense of it. What is it called? Encryption. Correct. So it's just repetition. A company is following a plan to continue operations if a place of business is affected by disaster, flood, fire, earthquake, so on. The plan is most likely called what? It is business continuity planning. If there is a disaster, how would you continue during the phase of recovery? Not a strategic plan, not a crisis communication plan. That's the plan during crisis, how to communicate with other parties or with your own departmental units. Continuous availability planning. That is one of the function of the information system that should be available whenever we need it. Availability, confidentiality, and integrity. These were the three important features of information system. The Chief Information Technology Officer introduced a technology to prevent unauthorized external access to the client's network. The technology described by the Chief Information Officer is most likely unauthorized access from outside will be prevented by a firewall. Encryption is used for data transmission, correct? Avas. An owner of a company has entered into a contract with a hardware vendor, ensuring that in the event of a disaster, the vendor would provide the company with computer equipment, which means currently there is no computer equipment. The owner has also entered into a lease contract with the building owner, ensuring that in the event of a disaster, the company will be provided with an empty floor in the building to allow for the continuation of its business. So technically, there is nothing, no hardware, no software, basically nothing. So which of the following best describe the disaster recovery plan? It's a cold site, and that makes C to be the correct option.